All right, thank you for sticking around. Now we get to the other good part of the conference. We have our keynote speaker, and he's a national speaker, author, and a leadership expert, and I think we can give him a very warm CUNY welcome. Let's give a big hand for Mr. Jasper.
Over the past 100 years, not only has our communities, nation, and world faced a variety of challenges and obstacles, but each generation has been able to overcome these different circumstances because of several great leaders.
For instance, in the early 1900s, women were not able to vote. But because of leaders such as Susan B. Anthony, women are able to vote today.
Later on, our nation experienced one of the greatest economic challenges ever in American history. But because of leaders such as Franklin D. Roosevelt, our communities and nation bounced back from an incredible economic catastrophe.
From 1939 to 1945, we found ourselves engaged in World War II. But because of leaders such as General Patton, our nation overcame this challenge and progressed forward.
Following these experiences in the mid-1900s, when minorities were experiencing great inequality, leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood up to the inequality and helped minorities obtain equal rights in America.
Later on, in the mid-1900s, the Soviet Union would threaten to attack our country from Cuba. But leaders such as John F. Kennedy stepped up to the challenge and helped us bring peace to a serious situation internationally.
As the era came to an end, in the early 1970s, leaders such as Cesar Chavez led the largest farm worker strike in U.S. history so that minority farm workers could receive more rights for their labor.
In the late 1900s, when everyone did not have a computer in the home, leaders such as Bill Gates set out on a mission to put a computer in every household.
Later on in the mid-1900s, there had never been a woman who served on the Supreme Court. But because of leaders such as Sandra Day O'Connor, this glass ceiling was broken and more opportunities than ever before have been made available for women in America.
One of these women that broke the glass ceiling and opened doors for more minority women was Oprah Winfrey. Not only was she one of the most successful talk show hosts in American history, but she became the first woman billionaire.
After 20 plus years in prison, Nelson Mandela not only became the first black president of South Africa, but he dismantled the legacy of apartheid and impacted the lives of people everywhere.
Following these experiences in the late 1900s, Apple Computers decided to rehire Steve Jobs, who had been fired from a company he created in 1985. From this point forward, not only did Steve Jobs overcome humiliating defeat and failure, but he transformed the entire world with one of the most powerful technology companies in the world.
In the late 1900s and early 21st century, we experienced the greatest terrorist attack ever in America. But because of everyday Americans, we were able to overcome some of the greatest challenges we have ever faced as a nation in American history.
Later on in the early 21st century, there had never been a minority president in the United States of America. But because of leaders such as President Barack Obama, more minorities dreamed of becoming the next president of the United States of America.
And now it's your time to lead.
It's your time to shine.
It's your time to overcome the challenges of our day.
And it's your time to become the leader you were purposed to be in the earth.
So, without further ado, please welcome Joshua Frenenberg as he empowers you with the leadership skills you need in the 21st century to make an impact in the world.
Also, if you're a leader, say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you're awesome, say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if you're amazing, say, yes indeed. Yes indeed. Give yourself a round of applause. Awesome. Well, let me first of all begin by saying it's an honor, it's a pleasure to be here today. I'm often asked, what is your most favorite speaking engagement ever? And I always revert back to my experience here 3 years ago when I got the opportunity to speak to the student government leaders here in the CUNY system. So give yourselves a round of applause for being awesome. I always love being here. Very grateful to be here today. Number two, I think it's always fitting and right that we always show appreciation and honor to the men and the women that put on this wonderful conference. So if we give all the leadership team a big round of applause for all the work that they have done so that we can be here today. Now, we're getting ready to take off, but before we do take off into this presentation, there's a couple things that I want to do. The first thing I want to make you aware of is what I call the social media challenge. Someone say social media challenge. Now, throughout the presentation, normally when someone's talking, they say have your phones off. I encourage you to turn your phones on. So if you have a cell phone, if you have a Galaxy, if you have an iPad, whatever the case may be, I want you to have your phones on, because if I say something powerful, if I say something that's motivating, I want you to tweet about it. Someone say tweet about it. Tweet about it. Say Instagram it. Or Facebook it. Someone say Facebook it. I want you to let people know what's going on in here, because when we deal with leadership, leadership is not about title, leadership is not about status, leadership is about impact. Say impact. It's all about impact. So we're going to make an impact not only here today, but also on social media. And this is what I'm going to do. The person that tweets the most, the person that Instagrams the most, I'm going to get your address later tonight, and I'm going to mail you a free $10 gift certificate to Starbucks. Anybody like Starbucks? So whoever tweets the most, whoever has the most Instagram, again, I'm going to check it later this evening, and I'm going to ask you for your address, and I'm just going to mail it to you immediately when I get home. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. The second thing we're going to do before we get started is I always like to begin what I call a positive affirmation experience. Someone say positive affirmation experience. What we're going to do is we're going to stand on our feet and we're going to say positive words out loud. So they already know it's about to go down. Okay. There's 4 reasons why I do it. The first reason why is because I'm a believer in the power of words. Someone say words. I believe words have power. And I believe you say I'm great, you will become great. Good. Number 2, the second reason why I do it, I think it's fun. Third reason why I do it is it's a positive environment. But the fourth and most important reason why I do it is because it gives you an opportunity to remind yourself how great you are. I want you to know that when you walk out of here today, not only are you special, not only are you valuable, not only are you important, but you are a leader destined to impact the world. If you agree, say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. Stand on your feet. We're going to get ready to get started. We're going to charge the environment with your powerful words, your wonderful look, your valuable smile. Are y'all ready? Yeah. I love it. Thank you. So I love it. Say today. I am destined for success. I am an amazing leader of the 21st century. I look good. I smell good. I'm dressed wonderful. And I'm extraordinary, exceptional, incredible, and powerful leader. I believe my failures, my fears, my rejections, my haters, my naysayers, my doubters, and my challenges will not stop me from reaching my fullest potential. I believe right now, someone, somewhere, I don't even know, has already determined to do something incredible in my life. I believe right now, someone, somewhere, I don't even know, has already determined to give me the career opportunity of a lifetime. I believe someone, somewhere, I don't even know, has already determined to give me the financial opportunity of a lifetime. I'm rich. I'm wealthy. I'm influential. And I believe that I will make an impact in my family, in my community, in my nation, and in my world. I am, without a doubt, one of the world's next top leaders. Give us a round of applause. Right now, give someone a high five and say, get ready, get ready, get ready. Let's go. All right, let's go. Real quick, give us a round of applause one more time. so they'll start playing music. It's one of the things I like to do. It keeps me in the flow. It keeps me in the zone. It's like when you study. Anybody study and listen to music? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it does something to my mind. So I like to have the music playing. It just keeps me in my zone. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, let's get into this thing. I want to begin with a story. It was literally about 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I was invited on a talk show to talk about the impact of 9/11 on the millennial generation. Now, many of you in this room are very familiar with 9/11. Many of you may have been living here during that time. But I actually was here the summer before it actually transpired. And so during that time, I ended up writing a book, and the book was entitled Vision, the Answer to Generations X and Y. And so because of that book, they invited me on this talk show, and they wanted me to talk about the impact of 9/11 on the millennial generation. Generation Y, those born between 1979 to 1994. And so I'm preparing for this presentation, and I'm thinking about my experiences. I can literally remember exactly where I was, and I'm just thinking like, what am I going to say on TV? I don't want to look stupid. I want to look very intelligent. I'm representing my generation, and I'm there preparing for a 5-minute segment for 3+ hours. As I'm preparing for this show, I'm prepared to go on television, I'm prepared to say, hey mom, I'm prepared to be in this wonderful moment. All of a sudden, I discovered a reoccurring theme. And it was so eye-opening to me because I was like, how did I not see this? I was like, what in the world is going on? In the midst of my search, in the midst of my research, in the midst of my studying, I discovered something that just blew my mind. And the recurring theme was this. It was that for the leaders of our generation, we're going to have to be leaders that understand how to lead in a time of rebuilding, reformation, and change. Say rebuilding, reformation, and change. We are a generation that is growing up in a time where if we're going to be effective leaders of the 21st century, we have to be able to understand how to lead in a time of rebuilding, reformation, and change. Someone say change. And the reason why this is so important is because number one, when you're dealing with rebuilding, ultimately that's when something is destroyed and you have to build it back up. When you're dealing with reformation, you're changing the way things are done. You're changing strategies. You're changing methods. And then when you deal with change, someone say change. You're just changing things. It's just things are different. And I identified this in 2006. And I realized that the purpose of our generation is to be leaders that understand how to rebuild, leaders that understand how to reform, leaders that understand how to bring about change. Someone say change. I discovered this. And it was very eye-opening to me at the time because I began to go through the various years. For instance, I began to look in 2001. And if you remember, we had the attack in New York City. And right after attack, we found ourselves rebuilding, restructuring New York City, and people to know how to live in a time where terrorist attack can happen at any moment. Y'all still here? Say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. In 2002, I started hearing about 50% of marriages ending in divorce. And I found out that not only are we working on rebuilding the family structure, but also what is marriage? This is a conversation in our nation right now. And let me just go on and say really quickly, it's important that we understand the importance of family. Someone say family. Family. Because it takes a strong family to build a strong community. It takes a strong community to make a great nation. And it takes a great nation to make a better world. And so everything starts with family. Say family. Family. And so effective leaders understand that we got to be effective at rebuilding the family. Say family. This is in 2002. And then in 2003, you remember when George Bush made the declaration that we were going to war in Iraq. And we found ourselves rebuilding Iraq. And then in 2004, there was the popular slogan by Kerry and by Edwards. It was called Rebuilding a Stronger America. Someone say rebuilding. So at this point, I'm tripping out. Because I'm saying rebuilding, 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 rebuilding. Are you still here? Yes. 2005. Remember Hurricane Katrina? We found ourselves rebuilding lives in New Orleans. So for 5 years, we see this reoccurring theme with national events of rebuilding. Someone say rebuilding. Rebuilding. In 2006, there was reform. There was immigration reform. So now we start to see reform. Now we start to hear about reformation. Are y'all still here? Yes. Reoccurring thing. And then in 2007, moving on, we start dealing with global warming and climate change. Changing our lifestyle. Someone say change. Change the way we live. Changing what we do. Changing how we deal with energy. Are y'all seeing the theme? For 7 years straight, you're seeing rebuilding, you're seeing reformation, and you're seeing change. And it doesn't stop. Because in 2008, the popular slogan was change. I'm bringing change to America. Remember that's what Bob was talking about? There's a new person, there's new things, we're doing innovative things, it's a new generation. He was saying change. Someone say change. Change that you can believe in. So we're seeing that over the first 8 years of the new millennium is a reoccurring theme of rebuilding, reformation. Someone say change. Doesn't stop. In 2009, we had economic reform. Someone say reform. Here goes the theme again. Reform, economic reform, how we're going to create jobs, how we're going to create employment. See, are y'all seeing this thing? In 2010, anybody from Haiti in the room? Any Haitians? Y'all know what I'm talking about. There was a major earthquake in Haiti. Major earthquake. Someone say rebuild. So in the first 10 years of the new millennium, some of the most major events in our nation have revolved around rebuilding, reformation, and change. Someone say change. Doesn't stop. 2011, Wall Street reform. Anybody remember Wall Street reform? Remember those days? Some of y'all may have been out there. Wall Street reform. Reform Wall Street. I just thought of something. Wall Street reform. 11 years. Let's go to 2012. Job creation. Create new jobs. Innovation. Rebuild. Are y'all seeing this? We're seeing a constant theme of rebuilding, reformation, and change. And I'm still not done. Because in 2013, healthcare reform. Remember that issue? Y'all know about that. Obamacare, as they call it. Healthcare reform. And I'm still not done. Because in 2014, student loan reform. How many of y'all want that? Raise your hand. So what we're discovering, man, I get pumped up about this message. By the way, I've only given this message 2 times, so you're the third audience. Because there has to be a special place when I say this. This is some revelation kind of stuff. And I only preserve it for special occasion. So tell someone it's a special occasion. Tell someone you are special. Give yourself a round of applause. So what we see is we see a reoccurring theme of rebuilding, of reformation, and of change. And it has happened from 2001 all the way up to 2014 with major events. And guess what? If it's happening with major events, it's going to affect everyone. And if we're going to be leaders, if we're going to make an impact, if we're going to make a difference, if we're going to progress, then we're going to be leaders that understand, how do I lead effectively in a time of rebuilding, reformation, and someone say change. So you got to know how to lead. Because it's a difference leading in a time of rebuilding when everything is cool. It's a difference leading in a time of reformation when things are changing. The way you do things is changing. The way in which we thought things were several years ago, it changes. There's a change. Someone say change. And when there's change, things change. And you can't lead the way you led in one season when you've changed into another season. I can't plant in the winter like I can plant in the spring. Are y'all here? Because there's a change in the season. So today, in our nation, there's a change. Someone say change. There's a change in the season. There's a change in the culture. There's a change in society. There's a change in which things are being done. We are in a season and in a time of change. Do you understand that there were methods that worked in the 20th century that will not work in the 21st century? Change. There are challenges that we will face now that we didn't face in the 20th century. There are jobs that will be created that have not been created before in the 21st century. I'll give you one example. I'm going ahead of myself. Someone say social media. Social media. How many of you use social media? Raise your hand. You understand social media. Do you know that there was no social media in 2000? Social media was non-existent. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. There was no Twitter in 2000. But within about the last 10 to 12 years, not only has it become a phenomenon, but many of us use it to communicate, to build relationships, and also to lead. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. You keep the music going, by the way. It's a repeat, though. We'll be okay. Are y'all still here? Yeah. So this has changed the way in which we lead. Because we understand that in order to reach people that are used to technology, we got to incorporate social media. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm just making sure my music's there. Okay, just want to make sure I'm good. It incorporates it because it's changed. Things are changing. And watch this. People that are unwilling to use social media as leaders, guess what? They will be less effective than those who use it. If you agree, say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So it changes your leadership. It changes how you do things. It changes your methodology. It changes your strategy. And this is the time in which you are in. We are in a season of rebuilding, reformation. Someone say change. Change. Someone say change. Change. We're in that season. And so my objective today is very simple. I'm going to provide you with 4 to 5. Someone say 4 to 5. 4 to 5. 4 to 5 questions that every leader must consider in the 21st century if they're going to lead in a time of rebuilding, reformation. Someone say change. Change. If you're going to lead in a time of rebuilding, of reformation and change, there's 4 to 5 things we need to understand. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So for the next hour, someone say hour. I got 1 hour. But for the next hour, man, you're in the right place today because I'm talking. For the next hour, I'm going to break down 4 different things that will help you and enhance your ability to be effective leaders in a time of reformation, rebuilding, and change. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Give someone a high five. Say number 1. Here we go. Number one. Here we go. The first thing. It's practical, but it's important. The first thing you got to ask yourself is, can you let go of past experiences? It's going to be good. See, because we can't change if we can't get rid of some past things. So we talk about letting go. Someone say let it go. We talk about letting go. In order to grow, in order to progress, in order to advance, in order to rebuild, in order to restructure, in order to change, we got to let some stuff go. Because if we don't let some stuff go, the very things of our past can destroy our process of bringing about change and about changing for the good. See, there's a lot of people that want change, that want to rebuild, but they can't get past sometimes the negative things. You know the negative thing that holds us back? Well, the last time I tried to do this, fear creeped in. The last time I tried to trust someone, they did me wrong. The last time I tried to do this, my heart was broken. The last time I tried to step up as a leader, it was a natural disaster. These past experiences. Or some man said, you never amount to nothing. And what someone said in the past, you're living on what they said versus what you are today. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what we do, if we can't get rid of the past, the negative experiences, it can hinder us from moving forward. But there's another part of this thing, which is not talked a lot about when we do with releasing your past experiences. Let it go, let it go. Always the bad stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you have to let go of the good stuff. Because the good stuff can keep you back from the great stuff. See, we don't talk about this. For 50 years, we may have progressed and we may have succeeded one type of way. But when culture changes, when society changes, when things change, what may have worked in 1990 may not work in 2013. It was good. It was prosperous. It was really well. It was some great tradition. I mean, we had some moments. Kumbaya. Well, it was great. But now, ain't no one trying to hear that. Ain't no one trying to deal with that. And if we're not able to let go of the good in order to aspire to obtain the great, our good will keep us from going to the next level. And a lot of people, when they think of past, they always think of the bad. But I suggest to you, sometimes you got to get rid of the good. There are certain people that got you here but can't take you to the next level. There's certain teachings that got you here but can't get you to the next level. There's a certain diet that got you through school, but there's a new diet to change the world. Are y'all still here? Yeah. That's why T.D. Jakes says, and I quote, he says, when people hold on to the toughest moments of their past, they are shortchanging their future. I'm curious today, are there some moments of your past you need to let go? Are there some failures you need to let go of? Are there some experiences you need to let go of? Are there some people you need to forgive? I don't know what the case is, but is there something negative in your life today that you got to release? Because watch this, if you don't release it, the person who offended you has no effect on you. You are affecting yourself because you're holding on to it. But once you make up in your mind, I'm going to forgive them, I'm going to release it, you open yourself up to opportunities. I suggest to you there could be opportunities in front of your face today, but you haven't been able to let go of the past, therefore you can't accept it. When I was younger, they said I'll never amount to nothing. When I was younger, they talked about me. When I was younger, my mom said I could never be a doctor. My mom said I could never be a world changer. My dad said I could never be this leader of the 21st century. He told me you can't go to school. But here I am on the campus with dreams and with aspirations. But watch this. If I can't get rid of these past thoughts and these past words and these people who have come into my life to try to bring me down, it will destroy the very essence of what I'm created to be. Are y'all still here? Yeah. It'll destroy it. So if it's change, I gotta change. What's the change? I'm not just a student, I'm a world changer. Someone say I'm a world changer. I'm not just a student, I'm a leader. Say I'm a leader. Say I'm a leader. I'm destined for success. No matter what my environment looks like, I'm destined for success. No matter how many times I fail, I'm destined for success. Because I'll show you later in the presentation, I'll show you how your failure is actually a preparation for your success. Amen. I'll show you that I'll show you that every leader has to fail in order to succeed. I'll show you how rejection is part of the journey towards greatness. Every leader, every successful person at some point has been rejected. So tell someone, let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Are y'all still here? Oh man, someone's letting it go. Someone say, let it go. Let it go. Say, let it go. Let it go. Say, let it go. Let it go. I was watching this woman say, it's Christine Kane says, and I quote, one of the most powerful quotes I've heard in my entire 2014. She says, sometimes you have to let go of the things that worked in the past in order to progress to the next level. Wait a minute. This thing has worked. This system has worked. This way of doing things has worked. She says sometimes it can only get you so far. Sometimes you got to make drastic change in order to experience drastic results. Because she says sometimes you got to get rid of the good in order to go to the next level. This is why Jim Collins, someone say Jim Collins. Jim Collins has a book, From Good to Great. And in the book, he talks about how good is an enemy of great. And this was perplexing to me because I said, how can good be an enemy of great? Good is good. But he said, good is an enemy of great because good is comfortability. And sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncertain. You got to step out by faith. You got to go above and beyond what you're used to in order to experience great. I got to share that story. Oh, I didn't mean to share this story. But here we go. I didn't know I was going to share this story. But that's what happens. A couple years ago, I was in California. And life was good in California. But on the inside, something was telling me, you got to go to Miami. You got to be bi-coastal. And then I was like, I'm going to Miami. So I started preparing to go to Miami. It was uncomfortable because I was living like by the beach, and I had to downsize, and so I wasn't living by the beach no more because I was trying to create the money in order to create the time and the space so I could get to Miami. Someone say, oh yeah. I had to stay with my own car. I couldn't get a new car, although I wanted to, because I had to save the money so that I could afford being in Miami and in LA. I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it, wasn't sure how the bills were going to get paid. I just knew I had to get to Miami and be bi-coastal. And so in June of 2013, I finally was in position, and it was time for me to jump. Someone say jump. I had to get out the good and go after the great. Why was it great? Because it was a new level. I wasn't just on one coast, I was now going to be bi-coastal. I had to stretch, I had to put my hands down and say, I'm about to fly right now, because there's something in Miami that is connected to my destiny, and if I don't get out of this comfort zone, I am not going to experience. But I got to still stay in LA because I have destiny in LA as well. So now I got to step out of my comfort zone, go into a city I've never lived in before. I don't really know anybody. And then I got to believe that somehow the bills are going to get paid. Y'all still here? Yeah. Come into Miami, Florida. In the month of July, I go to this church and I start serving. So I'm at this church and I'm serving. On a Tuesday night, I'm in line, and I'm helping out, and I meet this young lady, and we begin to become acquaintances. And after we begin to become acquaintances, I go on about my business, and I'm maintaining LA, and I'm maintaining Miami. And about the month of October, I come into Miami, and I show up one day to church, and this woman happens to show up. And so we happen just to go out, and we start to eat, and we sit there for about 3 to 4 hours just talking. Are y'all still here? Yeah. By the time Christmas comes, into the new year, I find myself in a relationship. So I'm in a relationship that has just come into my life because I stepped out of my comfort zone to go to the next level and pursue something greater. Y'all still here? Yeah. During this time of transition, I had the most speaking engagements ever in 2013. In 2014, I had the most ever in 2014. So during this time of making the transition, someone say transition, of letting go of good and going after great, during this time, I just got into a relationship. I have 2 places where I'm living. I'm making more money now than I was when I was in one place. And it's like, things have changed. Things are getting better. But it gets better. Someone say it gets better. It gets better. It gets better. Because just last November, I ended up getting engaged. Just last year, I filed my taxes, or I started looking at my taxes. Made more than I've ever made in my life. Impacting more lives, more ideas. All this stuff transpired because I dared to get out of good and pursue great. And then, someone say, and then, just this week, we've been doing a connect group in Miami. So my crazy self, travel the country, coming to Miami every 2 weeks, and have this group on leadership. Did you know that I just found out this week, we won an award for Leaders of the Month? Leaders of the Month. A group that grew from 70 to 70 people in a matter of 9 months. I don't know what's going on. I just know one thing, that I was able to let go and fly, and I'm seeing things transpire because I was willing to change. I was willing to step out and go after great. And so when I look back over this 1.5 year life of letting go of some stuff and jumping out for something greater, I'm engaged. By the way, I got like 2 houses now, one in Miami, one in LA. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I got a new Lexus just last year, so I forgot to tell you about that. I forgot to tell you that my savings is higher than I've ever been before. And I forgot to tell you that I got a leadership curriculum that's in development right now. And I forgot to tell you that things are getting better and better every single day. You said, John, how did it happen? It happened because I embrace change. I embrace reformation. I embrace the time of rebuilding. I embraced a moment to make things better. I got rid of the good, but I dove out for the great. I dare you today. What do you have to change in order to become great? What things do you have to let go of in order to become great? Is that argument worth it? Is fear greater than the potential on the inside? Is the challenge greater than the ability that you have already been given to overcome the challenge? Someone say, let it go. Let it go. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And so when we're dealing with leadership in a time of change, reformation, and rebuilding, it's not just getting rid of the negative. It's asking myself the question, what good things do I got to get out of my life? What distractions that are good but aren't great do I got to get out of my life? Because I suggest to you, some of you may be part of so many different things, you're missing the greatest thing in front of your face. I see students all the time. They're part of 8 different organizations, and that's incredibly wonderful. But what if there's one organization is your sweet spot? But because you're only getting 10% to that organization, and not to say you're wasting time because it's good, but it's not great. Someone say great. Great. See, this is great, and this is going to take you places you've never imagined. As a matter of fact, some of you know it's your true passion, but to create more space for that next thing, there's some stuff you got to let go. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But tell someone, I'm not after good, I'm after great. You're after great. Someone say great. Great. You're after great. You're after great. You have to reach your fullest potential. But in order to be great, I got to change something. Someone say reform. I got to reform some stuff. Someone say rebuild. Rebuild. I got to restructure my life. Someone say change. I got to change some things. But the first step towards it, I got to let it go. I got to get rid of past experiences. And so here comes the key point. Someone say the key point. The key truth, the powerful truth. The powerful truth is this. Is that if you're going to lead in a time of change, if you're going to lead in a time of reformation, if you're going to lead in a time of rebuilding, then you have to be someone that is able to let go not only of the negative, but of the good. So as you evolve, as you grow, as you progress, as you go to the next level,